Hello everyone, welcome to the first session of the first chapter in physics, that is physical world. The weightage of this chapter is 2 marks or 1 mark. In your question paper, from this chapter, 2 marks will be awarded. Sometimes it may be asked for 1 mark also. If you see the pattern of question paper, in the first main we have 10 1 mark questions. So out of those 10 questions, 1 mark will be from this chapter. Or in the second main we have 8 2 marks question. So there may be a 1 question from this chapter. So the total weightage of this chapter is 2 marks, or sometimes this may be asked for 1 mark also. So there is no 3 or 5 marks question from this chapter. Now let's see what are the concepts that I am going to discuss in this chapter. These are the topics that we have to cover in this class. Science, what is science and what is scientific method, and also what are the steps involved in the scientific method. Then what is physics and what are the main branches of physics. Then unification and reduction and examples of unification and reduction, and also the scientists who have achieved the unification in physics. In nature, we find variety of natural phenomena like the happenings of day and night, rainfall, the formation of rainbow, earthquakes, and also eclipses. So these are some of the natural phenomena which are regularly occurring in nature. Human mind is always curious to know about the nature and natural phenomena. So we made an attempt to understand these natural phenomena. So this led to a discovery of science. Now let us give a definition for science. Science can be defined as, it is a systematic way, it is a systematic attempt to understand the nature and natural phenomena. So we can give the definition for science as, it is a systematic attempt to understand the nature and natural phenomena. The word science is originated from the Latin word scientia. Science is originated from the Latin word, science is originated from the Latin word scientia. This is a Latin word. In Latin, scientia means to know or to understand about the nature. So we have given the definition for science as, it is a systematic attempt to understand the nature and natural phenomena. And the word science is originated from the Latin word scientia, which means to know. Next, now let us understand what is scientific method. For understanding any natural phenomenon, so we have to adopt a systematic way or systematic method. The method which is adopted by scientists, which is known as a scientific method, which involves several steps. Let us write what are the important steps involved in the scientific method. The steps involved in the scientific method are systematic observation, controlled experiments, qualitative or quantitative reasoning, mathematical modeling, prediction, verification or falsification of theories. To understand any natural phenomena, these are the steps which we can adopt. For example, systematic observation. If you want to understand any physical phenomenon, we need to observe it. Suppose if we consider an example for this, the formation of rainbow occurs in nature whenever there is a rainfall as well as sunlight in the opposite directions. This phenomenon will be observed so many times so that we can conclude that rainbow formation occurs only when there is a sunlight as well as a rain. So this is what we called as a observation. Then controlled experiments. By using apparatus in a controlled situation, we can understand some of the physical phenomena. So this is what we call as a controlled experiments. Then qualitative or quantitative reasoning. So by giving proper reasons for the particular observation, so we can understand some of the phenomena. If we give an example for this, we have magnets. Suppose we have 2 bar magnets. Imagine we have 2 bar magnets. These 2 bar magnets may attract or repel. They may attract or repel. When does the 2 magnets will attract? When we take the 2 magnets near to each other with the same poles, like this. I am bringing the south pole of the second magnet near the south pole of the first magnet. So these are same poles of the magnet, so there is a repulsion between them. And if I bring the north pole of a second magnet near the south pole of the first magnet, then they will attract. So the magnets may attract or repel. So what is the reason for the attraction and what is the reason for the repulsion? The reason for the attraction of 2 magnets is 2 different poles of the magnet comes close to each other, then they will attract. And when we bring those 2 same poles, similar poles near to each other, then they will repel. So by giving a proper reasoning for the observed phenomena, we can understand some of the physical phenomena. Now, the fourth one is a mathematical modeling. So any theory that can be accepted or which can be proved mathematically by giving some mathematical equations, like we have F is equal to m into A. So this is Newton's second law. The statement of Newton's second law is the rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the applied force. And what is the mathematical equation for the second law or second law of motion, which is F is equal to m into A. And Einstein given a law, E is equal to mc square, where E is energy, m is mass and c is the speed of light. So this equation says about energy and mass are interconvertible. So any theory can be put into a mathematical equation by providing some mathematical equations like this. E is equal to mc square, F is equal to m into A. And then we have prediction, verification or falsification of theory. So what is this prediction? So we have an interesting fact here. In a solar system, Neptune is the outermost planet. Neptune is the outermost planet. But that planet was discovered through the mathematical predictions. So Uranus, after calculating the orbital distance of Uranus, so they predicted that there may be another planet outside the Uranus. So by using a mathematical prediction, that planet, the planet Neptune was discovered. So this is what the prediction is. And verification or falsification of theory. So no theory in physics is final. Suppose initially it was believed that all the planets are revolving around the sun in a circular orbit. So they made some modification for that theory, like the planets are not revolving in a circular orbit, instead they are revolving in a elliptical orbit. So this is just a modification for a given theory. So this is how we can learn some physical phenomena. So these steps, the 5 interconnected steps, or the steps involved in the scientific method to understand the natural phenomena. We will read it one by one again. Systematic observation, controlled experiments, qualitative or quantitative reasoning, mathematical modeling, prediction, verification or falsification of theories. Now let us understand what is physics and what are the main branches of physics. Science is broadly classified into two categories. One is a natural science and the second one is life science. Science can be broadly classified into two types or two categories, natural science and life science. So in natural science, the main branch or fundamental branch is physics, and then we have chemistry also. And in life science, we mainly study about the living organisms. So biology and biological studies will come under the life science. So in natural science, we learn about the physics. Let us describe what is physics. Physics can be described as, we cannot give a definition for physics, but physics which can be described as, it is the study of basic laws of nature, and their manifestation in different physical phenomena. So physics can be broadly described as, it is the study of basic laws of nature and their manifestation in different physical phenomena. So many physical phenomena or natural phenomena are occurring in nature. So in this concept or in this domain, what we are doing is, we are trying to give some basic laws to understand these physical phenomena. This is what a physics is. The word physics is originated from the Greek word physis. The word physics is originated from the Greek word physis. This means nature. So in Greek, physis means nature. One of the greatest scientists in physics, Sir Isaac Newton, described physics as natural history. Physics is natural history. Now, let us understand what are the main branches in physics. Branches of physics. The main branches of physics are mechanics, electrodynamics, thermodynamics, or which is also called thermal physics, optics, and quantum mechanics. In mechanics, what are the things we are going to learn? Newton's laws, or the motion of objects, then rigid body dynamics, and the applications of Newton's laws like rocket propulsion, and then we have rigid body dynamics, and then oscillations of bodies, waves likewise. So those are the concepts which comes under the branch mechanics. Then comes electrodynamics. In electrodynamics, we are going to see the electric and magnetic properties. Electric and magnetic properties of charged particles, moving charges you can say. So electric and magnetic properties of moving charges. So that is what we are going to study in electrodynamics. And in thermodynamics, we study about heat, temperature, heat engines, mechanical work or conversion of heat into mechanical work, efficiency of heat engines likewise. And these are the topics which we are going to learn in thermodynamics. And in optics, we are going to learn about properties and phenomena associated with light. Properties and phenomena associated with light, like reflection, refraction, interference, diffraction. So those are some of the properties and phenomena associated with light. So these topics will be covered in optics. And finally, we have quantum mechanics. This topic or this branch, quantum mechanics, is studied under the domain called micro. These four branches, mechanics, electrodynamics, thermodynamics and optics, so they are studied under the macroscopic domain. What do you mean by macroscopic domain? So the things which we can see. This is completely a microscopic world. Quantum mechanics is completely studied in microscopic domain, that is the atom which we cannot see. The properties and phenomena associated in a microscopic level, like atoms, interaction of atoms, or even nucleus, radioactivity. So those are the topics which are covered under the quantum mechanics. So these are the main branches of physics. Let us read it one by one. Mechanics, electrodynamics, thermodynamics, optics and quantum mechanics. The first four are studied under the domain called macroscopic domain, and the fifth one, that is quantum mechanics, is completely a microscopic domain. Now we will move on to the next one. What is unification and reduction? Unification and reduction. Now we will see what is unification. Unification means explaining the different phenomena or diverse physical phenomena with few concepts and laws. I will give an example for this. The universal law of gravitation holds good universally. So we can apply the laws of gravitation everywhere, for celestial objects as well as for the terrestrial objects. Celestial objects are those which are outside the earth, and terrestrial objects are those which are present on the earth. Next, we can give one more example for this. We have studied about electromagnetic induction in our previous classes. Electromagnetic induction means by varying the magnetic field, we can produce a electric current. So here there are two terms, electro and magnetic. Electric field and magnetic field. So those are the two different concepts or two different phenomena. But still they can combine into a single domain called electromagnetic induction. So the two different phenomena can be explained in a single domain. So this is what the unification is. Now let us list some of the scientists who have achieved this unification. The first scientist who achieved the unification is Sir Isaac Newton. Newton is a scientist who is first achieved the unification. Like the same laws of gravitation, the universal law of gravitation, so that can be applied for celestial and terrestrial objects. So this is the first attempt for the unification. So Newton is the first man to achieve the unification in physics. And then Ørsted. Ørsted is another scientist who achieved the unification in the field of electromagnetism. So he achieved the unification by combining electric and magnetic phenomena in a single domain. And then we have Michael Faraday. Michael Faraday is the person who gave the laws of electromagnetic induction. So he unified electric field and magnetic field in a single domain called electromagnetic induction. Then James Maxwell. So James Maxwell is also unified electromagnetism with optics. So he said the light is an electromagnetic wave. So light is a concept which comes under the optics, and he achieved the unification by saying that light is an electromagnetic phenomenon. So the achievement of unification in the field of physics was done by these four scientists. You can remember Newton, Ørsted, Michael Faraday and James Maxwell. Now we will see what is reduction. Reduction is explaining the macroscopic behavior of substances by or in terms of microscopic constituents. We will give an example for this. Temperature. Temperature is one of the macroscopic properties of substances. So it's a relative measure of hotness or coldness of a substance. We can measure it by using some instruments. So temperature is a macroscopic behavior of a substance. This temperature is related to the microscopic constituents like the kinetic energy. Kinetic energies of molecules in a substance. Means temperature is a macroscopic behavior of a substance, but this temperature is related to kinetic energies of molecules in a substance. So as the kinetic energies of molecules means they are microscopic in nature, so which we cannot see. So the kinetic energy, as the kinetic energies of these molecules varies or it changes, which can change the temperature. So we are explaining the macroscopic property like temperature by this change in kinetic energies of molecules, which is a microscopic constituent. So this is what we called as a reductionism, explaining the macroscopic behavior of a substance in terms of microscopic constituents. This is called as a reductionism. Fine. In this class, what are the concepts we have learned? Firstly, what is science and what is a scientific method, and also the steps involved in the scientific method, and then we give a definition for physics, and also what are the main branches in physics, and finally what is unification and reduction. And we also studied about the scientists who have achieved the unification in the field of physics. That's all from this session. Thank you.